Okay, let's jump right in. There's this really bold, sweeping new plan for crypto that's been making waves online. It was laid out in a viral video, and it's promising a pretty massive shift in the entire market. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this plan is, who's supposedly behind it, and what it could all mean for the future of digital assets. This is the huge opening claim from the source material, a YouTube video from Altcoin Daily. I mean, they're not talking about some small policy change here. They're calling it a roadmap to a golden age. That sets the stakes incredibly high right from the get-go. So you have to ask, what could possibly be behind a statement that big? And that's really the key question we're digging into in this explainer. We're going to go way beyond the headlines and look at the actual structure of the plan, the key players mentioned in the video, and the arguments for why this could be a major turning point for the whole industry. So where is all this coming from? Well, the source for this whole thing is an Altcoin Daily YouTube video. In it, they feature a guest who's introduced as a White House crypto executive director, and he's the one who lays out this pretty comprehensive report and roadmap. So let's take a look at what the stated goals of this plan are. Now, what's really fascinating here is just how ambitious this is. According to the video, this isn't just about, helping innovation along. This is about global leadership. The plan is designed to make the U.S. the undisputed crypto capital of the world, while also strengthening the dollar and creating clear, predictable rules so the industry can finally take off. So how exactly would they pull off these massive goals? Well, the plan isn't just a wish list. It's laid out as a very structured three-phase process. But to really get the first phase, we've got to define a key term that they use. Okay, so before we dive into the phases, you have to understand this term, Operation Choke Point 2.0. Now, it's really important to stress this language and this definition come directly from the source video. They describe it as this unofficial government policy that was basically trying to cut crypto companies off from the banking system, which, as you can imagine, created huge problems for the industry. And that brings us to the real meat of the roadmap. The guest in the video breaks it down into these three very distinct logical steps: demolition, construction, and then implementation. You can kind of think of it like you have to tear down the old shaky building before you can build a brand new skyscraper on the site. So phase one is all about clearing the deck. The goal here is to get rid of what the source calls all the regulatory blue tape that they argue has been holding back innovation. And the number one target is to officially end Operation Choke Point 2.0 and get crypto back into the good graces of mainstream finance. Right, so once the ground is cleared, phase two is when you start building. The video points to two main legislative pillars for this. First, a stablecoin framework they call the Genius Act, which is aimed at creating a regulated digital dollar. And second, just creating super clear rules for the market so everybody knows how to play the game legally and without any surprises. Okay, so with that whole policy framework laid out, the video then shifts to what all this actually means for the market, starting with the OG, the biggest name in crypto, Bitcoin. The argument they make is that this new regulatory clarity is going to unleash an absolute flood of demand from both institutions and regular people. And they are not shy with their predictions. Get this. The video explicitly throws out a potential future price target of $200,000 for Bitcoin. This isn't just some casual optimism. It's a belief that a properly regulated environment will completely revalue the asset. To back this up, the source points to heavy hitters from the heart of traditional finance, like BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. A quote like this is used to show a really profound shift, right? When the leaders of the old guard are now openly bullish on Bitcoin's future, well, that signals that something fundamental is changing. And it's not just talk either. This is where that sentiment connects with reality. The video makes the claim that BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is the fastest growing ETF in the history of ETFs. They present this as cold, hard proof of a massive wave of capital coming in, validating that bullish outlook. But here's where the argument gets really, really specific. Because while this whole plan is good for Bitcoin, the source makes a very powerful case that the single biggest winner of all this change might actually be Ethereum. The video brings up this idea called the power law. Just look at this chart. The argument is basically that Ethereum has a dominance in stablecoins that's like Google's dominance in search. We're talking about a 90% market share. So any new regulation that makes stablecoins bigger and better, like that Genius Act, is going to disproportionately send a tidal wave of value straight to Ethereum. And you can already see this starting to play out in corporate strategies. Everyone knows about companies like MicroStrategy stacking Bitcoin. But the source points to a new trend. You've got companies like SharpLink Gaming now accumulating Ethereum. And even huge banks like Standard Chartered are predicting a potential tenfold growth in corporate ETH holdings. The movement is definitely expanding beyond just Bitcoin. So ultimately, the claim is this, and it's a huge one. The video argues that Ethereum isn't just another cryptocurrency. They say it's foundational technology, the only blockchain strong enough to act as the substrate or the base layer for a future decentralized global economy. That's a massive statement about its place in the ecosystem. So, given all of this, a new regulatory playing field, huge institutional interest, and these specific bull cases for Bitcoin and Ethereum, how should an investor even think about this market? Well, the last part of the video is all about the right mindset. And this brings us to this great analogy from investor Mark Yusko that was presented in the video. He says to think about Bitcoin like early Amazon stock. Amazon was ridiculously volatile. It had huge crashes, even dropping 90%, twice. But its underlying value, its network, just kept growing and growing. The argument is to do the same with Bitcoin. Ignore the wild price swings and focus on the fundamentals, like the hash rate and the number of wallets, which are all consistently rising. From that point of view, every big dip is a buying opportunity, not a reason to sell. And that really leaves us with this central question, doesn't it? As this new era described in the video potentially begins, one with clearer rules and big money flowing in, is the key to winning now all about having that long-term vision and holding on through the noise? Or, in the wild world of crypto, will massive volatility always be king? That's the multi-hundred billion-dollar question we're all left with.